Some wake up every single morning grateful, genuinely, and deeply grateful. Not because their life is perfect, not because they haven't faced hard times, but because they've made a conscious choice to see the beauty in what they have. I smile easily. I laugh loudly. I encourage strangers, celebrate my friends, and walk into rooms like I belong there, because I do. I see the negative, I just also choose to spread joy. And somehow, that bothers people. It's a strange thing, carrying joy. You'd think it would be contagious, and sometimes it is. But other times, the moment your light shines a little too bright, the comments start creeping in. You're too much. The eye rolls when you share good news. The subtle jabs disguised as jokes. The unsolicited opinions about why you shouldn't feel as confident as you do, as if your happiness is something that needs to be earned on their terms, approved by their standards, and dimmed to a level they find comfortable. I've had others wait patiently, almost eagerly, for me to fail, as if my stumble would validate their doubt. I've been told I'm naive, that the world will humble me, that I need to be more realistic. A person at peace with themselves is deeply unsettling to a person at war with themselves. Hurt people, not because you deserve it, because they don't yet know how to heal it. There is data and years of studies to back up this claim, scientifically. There's an old saying that misery loves company, but the truth is more complicated and more unsettling than that folk wisdom suggests. Unhappy people don't simply seek out other unhappy people for comfort. They actively, if often unconsciously, pull the people around them into their emotional orbit. The mechanism begins with something deeply human, the need for validation. When someone is suffering, one of the most powerful psychological drives is the desire to have that suffering acknowledged as real and justified. A person convinced the world is bleak needs others to see the bleakness too. It isn't malice, it's the mind's way of confirming its own conclusions. So, they emphasize the negative, dismiss the hopeful, and subtly, or not so subtly, reframe shared experiences through a darker lens. Over time, those around them begin to absorb that framing without realizing it. There's also the exhausting arithmetic of emotional labor. Chronic unhappiness demands a great deal from relationships. Friends and family find themselves constantly managing the mood in the room, softening their own good news, suppressing their own joy so as not to seem callous. Happiness starts to feel like a social transgression. Little by little, the emotional range of everyone in the orbit narrows to match the person who struggles most. Neuroscience adds another layer. Mirror neurons, the brain system for simulating the emotional states of others, mean that we don't just observe the feelings of the people around us, we partially experience them. A slumped posture, a flat voice, a face set in grievance. These signals are processed not just intellectually, but physically. The body responds. Mood follows. What makes this dynamic particularly stubborn is that unhappy people rarely see themselves as the source of the contagion. From inside the experience, their negativity feels like clear-eyed realism, their complaints like honest reporting. This is one of the cruelest features of sustained unhappiness. It disguises itself as perception rather than condition, making it nearly impossible for the person suffering to take the first step toward change. None of this makes unhappy people villains. Most are struggling with pain that is real, histories that are complicated, and thought patterns they didn't consciously choose. But understanding the mechanism by which unhappiness spreads is the first step toward interrupting it, both for those who carry it and for those who love them. So, does joy love company? The short answer is yes. The more honest answer is yes, but it has to fight harder to do it. The same mirror neurons that attune us to someone's grief, their slumped shoulders and hollow eyes, also fire in the presence of genuine delight. A real laugh is nearly impossible to hear without the corners of your mouth responding. A person who enters a room with warmth and ease subtly shifts the emotional temperature for everyone in it. The brain doesn't distinguish between catching a good mood and catching a bad one. It's the same borrowed feeling, just in a different direction. Research on what psychologists call emotional contagion confirms this. Positive emotions are transmissible. Studies on social networks have found that happiness, like unhappiness, clusters. Joyful people tend to be surrounded by other joyful people, and the relationship runs both ways. You don't just find your people, you become each other. But here's the asymmetry. Negativity travels faster. It's louder, more urgent, harder to ignore. From an evolutionary standpoint, this makes sense. A threat demands immediate attention in a way that a blessing doesn't. The brain is wired to let bad news in through the front door and good news in through a window. Joy has to be more persistent, more deliberate, more stubborn than misery to cover the same ground. This is why the kind of joy described at the beginning of this piece, the kind that wakes up grateful, that laughs loudly, that walks into rooms with quiet confidence, isn't passive. It's an act. Not a performance, but a practice. A daily, conscious decision to keep the light on even when the people around you would find it more comfortable if you turned it down. And that practice matters, because people are watching you more closely than you realize. The colleague who said nothing but went home and thought about your energy. The stranger who caught your smile and carried it for an hour without knowing why. The friend who won't admit it, but started waking up a little differently after spending time with you. Misery spreads because it's heavy and hard to put down. Joy spreads because it reminds people, somewhere beneath the armor, that it's still possible. Both are contagious. Only one is worth catching.